Hello everyone. Welcome to another episode of Carrots and Steaks. Today with me I have Shankha Sarkar. Welcome Shank. Welcome to Carrots and Steaks.
Thank you, Dheeraj. It's been a pleasure to be with you in this for the audience. Thank you so much.
About Shank, he has done his MBA in University of Kent, England. He has spent 18 plus years in retail industry, in FMCG industry, working with brands like Aditya Birla, Spencer's Group, ADF Foods, and currently he's been working with Lactalis India as a head of e-commerce and modern retail. So are we ready, Shank?
Yes, thank you. Thank you so much.
Wonderful. So you are a part of the industry which is seeing such a major change. Everybody up till last 5 years in the retail industry, for them e-commerce was something which was a new thing. But with the quick commerce, now there are some multiple categories where consumer wants something in like minutes. So the competition or the fierce nature of the retail industry, not in India, but over the whole world, it has changed, right? So where in your role, you've been managing the e-commerce and the modern retail side of the things, right? How the behavior has changed in terms of consumer and your distribution channel. So I will be asking more questions about that.
Sure.
So are we ready?
Yes, please.
You have worked across multiple areas within the FMCG, right? Be it beverages, be it your dairy, and other categories in the food, right? How
Yes.
does the modern trade strategy change from one category to another? Are there any unique challenges or?
Sure. So Dheeraj, look, if we say today we are in 2025, the world has changed in the last 10 to 15 years. Rather, if I go a little bit further, I'll take it another last 20 years. The consumer behavior and the shopping behavior has completely changed. Today in India, if you see the household consumption growth is outpacing even the population, right? That's one. So what it means is that the way the consumer, the shoppers are today shopping is completely way different in various channels than in the last 20 years. Okay. Which also brings in certain complexities and certain, I would say, certain kind of advantages for both the brand side, retail side, as well as the consumer side, right? So when I say the comments, in terms of the kind of challenges or complexities in food and beverage in across, the strategies with modern trade today is a little bit different than an e-commerce or a GT as well. There are slight differences, right? The way it is treated. There is a very subtleness because when we talk about a modern trade or a e-commerce, we term it under organized retailing, right? So there are certain, I would say, variables which behave has a very likelihood, and their dynamism is very similar in nature. But in certain places, they also diverge. I'll give an example. Say, for example, in a beverage category, summer season is where carbonated drinks, juices, and all these categories see a real growth, right, from the rest of the year. Whereas in dairy category also we have similar kind of a pattern we see, okay, in terms of the consumer behavior. So today, with health and wellness actually and the conscious of consumers coming up, we see there is a slight change in how they consume these products. Okay, so we see there is definitely consumers taking more health options, like say for example they are moving from carbonated to smoothies or lassi and chas kind of a product. Okay, now when we talk about how a channel these products are being consumed within the channel or purchased in this channel, modern trade and e-commerce, it's a little bit different. Now in modern trade, what happens is that modern trade is all about price differentiation, whereas e-commerce, it's all about convenience. It's where, so the assortment size, the kind of behavior efficiencies built in both channels are little bit different, and it is little bit treated differently. So brands today, most brands accepts that, and they are moving towards that.
Understood. Both, like you said, both are a part of the organized trade, right? Organized channel, I'll say. But strategies work differently across both,
Yes.
right? You very well put it, like it's all about pricing versus convenience. But how do I mean there are other factors also, right?
Yes. So other factors, look, modern trade revolves everything about price being one of the primary model. However, in e-commerce, it's all about convenience and thereafter discoverability of product. Okay, now we have say we have retailers, quick commerce retailers, which delivers in 15 to 20 minutes, right? Consumers have shifted their behavior, and they want uh, as a service level agreement that I need this product in next 15 minutes, right? So what they do is that, so how a consumer then behaves, he doesn't, because there are plethora of products on e-commerce site, so they go for searching. They basically go for searches, simple searches, and optimizes their time. They want to order in 5 minutes, get in another 15 minutes, and the consumption happens in the next 10 minutes probably. So within 30 minutes, lot of the story building happens. Okay, so these are very important. So this is one of the key factors between a modern trade where price plays a big role, whereas in e-commerce, it is all about how fast I can get the product at my convenience and how fast we can consume it, means how we can utilize it. Okay, the end result being, the consequence being the consumption. In this, consumer doesn't really bother sometimes or most times about the price factor. And the same set of customer, when he walks into a supermarket, he has a very different way of behaving in that. So that's the difference between both these channels.
But don't you think that in e-commerce and quick commerce also discounting has played a very important role in changing consumers' habit?
Yes, look, from a consumer perspective, look, from a retail perspective, okay, now many of the e-commerce retailers are using pricing as a tactics, but that is only for acquisition
Okay.
purpose. Okay, that's not a long-term strategy. Okay, because at the end of the day, their strategy is that how to make this same customer have the stickiness of their product, of their platform, basically, right? Once today, say for example yourself, myself, today I have been using now quick commerce, means I have stopped going to my family, stopped going to many of the channels today. Okay, seldom they now go from a kirana or modern trade for that matter. uh, so now for us it is more about convenience and the product, how soon I can get it. Price is not considered, but when I step into a kirana or probably a modern trade for that matter, for the same product, probably I'll be looking for discounts and promotions.
Understood. You know, uh, now the channels are so scattered, right? It's and options everywhere are way too much for your consumer and also for your channels, right? To channels, multiple brands will be approaching with multiple schemes, right?
Mhm.
I have also said this in the previous podcast also, I'll repeat this now. The power was used to be with the brands. Now it's with your distribution channel, right? Because brands are numerous now. Earlier, if Unilever was there with bunch of their brands and some other company was there with bunch of their brands, but now even D2C brands are coming in picture. Brands are increasing, right? And if in dairy category we see every year now 10, 20, maybe 100 new brands are coming, right?
Right.
How do you as a company make sure that your channel partner remains loyal to you, to your product, right? Be it your modern trade or be it your e-commerce side of the things, and on the other hand also your consumer, right? How do you go about it?
With our retail channel partners, what we do, let it be modern trade or e-commerce for that matter, What we have set in precedents, and these are our use cases in the last 2 to 3 years, where we have gone into joint plannings for over a certain number of period, over a period of 12 months, 6 months, depending on each retailer's needs. Basically, we try to understand from their perspective what they are looking for their shoppers, basically, and we try to align those in our joint planning of the businesses, right? So we try to become more relevant to each partner's way of working, I would say, right? So so it is not like what I just want, it is what they want, basically. Okay. And when they talk about what they want, basically they are looking for their consumers and shoppers what they want, right? There's a joint business planning, I would say, which goes into it. We look into what are the win-wins parameters, not more than 2 to 3. Okay. Because as you rightly said, today we are seeing a plethora of brands within categories and subcategories. So how you make yourself relevant in that, and today young brands which are coming in, let it be in the D2C space or in other spaces, okay, they are a big challenger to all these big brands, right? So for us, it is that we have to be relevant to the shoppers and to our retail partners. That's how we.
For these smaller brands, might not be at a national level, but at a grassroots level, or maybe in 2 or 3 places, it's easy for them to connect with their consumers, right? For them, I believe some of the tactics that have worked for the brands, tactics as in, I mean, some brands have motto that we are coming up with something which is sustainable in nature, our packing is sustainable, right? We procure these from the farms which use this particular kind of, it becomes very easy for them to connect with their customers. So right, their connection with their customers starts from that point only, right? And they tend to change the habits, right? Wherever I know, as a consumer, I have been, let's say, consuming Amul. I'll just take an example, right? I've been consuming Amul in my family from last 20-30 years, right? I can connect with, let's say, some new ABC brand is coming. I see they are resonating with me, and I think about that, and I can change my consumption habits. But as far as my parents are concerned, their habits remain the same, right? Their habit remains the same. Now, let's say you are introducing something, forget if it's a new age brand or it's a corporate brand, you are introducing something into the market where you see there is a one section of the society which doesn't change, and there's a section of the society which is prone to changing habits all the time and trying new things. How do you go about that in those markets? I know your quick commerce and e-commerce definitely plays a very important role. You have the data available. If I put something out, it will work or it will not work. You will have the data. But how do you strategize about one, your quick commerce and e-commerce channels, and other, your general trade and modern trade? How do you strategize in these areas? How do you go about into a market?
Right. So look, in this, one of the key thing is, I'll begin that at Lactalis. It's a global, because Lactalis is a family-owned business. They are the third generation business who is, currently they are taking Lactalis forward. One thing is very key is nutrition. Now, being in dairy, nutrition is very key. And nutrition, we always when we talk about nutrition, generally it comes, something kadwa hai, or something, which is not palatable kind of a thing. But it's untrue. So we also say that aside nutrition, we try to give our customers, our consumers, tasty food, make it tasty. Okay, that's where everything starts. So all our innovations, let it be in India or globally across any of the countries we are there, it all starts over there, basically. Coming to modern trade and e-commerce versus GT, we have got GT both in terms of a fresh dairy category, GT, as well as value added, right? So one key aspect is that we look at as a complementary in nature, all these. Okay. So it becomes quite easier in terms of distribution in modern trade and e-commerce. It gives, the scalability in terms of distribution is quite quicker than which is, there are challenges in GT, right? Where scalability in distribution, it is very complex in nature in India. So we try to see that if how we complement each of this. So say, for example, we have looked into wherever there is a strong affinity of general trade, right? We look into that whether modern trade and e-commerce is present or not. Okay. So we want to have the Rabon effect. We call it the Rabon effect. Okay. It is vice versa as well. We look into geographies where nobody is there. None of our channels are there, but modern trade perhaps can go as a first mover, right? And then we build upon the other channels in the periphery. So it's more of a complementary nature. Okay. Sometimes, yes, unlike any other brands in India, where we have a certain challenges also in terms of the pricing, where there's sometimes a spillovers. There are certain challenges, conflicts happen. So we try to also, ensure that there is a parity within the channels partners, across channels and channel partners. So that's how we try to, come with new innovations or new geographic expansion and such in each of the channels.
Understood. And again, a very major question or a thinking point for every consumer brand in India, it's your distribution percentage or your consumption percentage in rural India and in urban India.
Right. Look, if you see Lactalis currently in Lactalis India, our presence is more on the tier 1 and the tier 2 towns. We have still yet a lot of work has to be done on our tier 3 and other rural towns. Okay, we do have certain presence bits and pieces, but yes, when we see into both the consumption, both the rural and the urban, we see one thing is that in urban consumption, they are the more early adopters of products, right, of new age products and all. But that doesn't mean that rural doesn't have. Rather, rural consumption is more aspirational. Okay, so they aspire. So here plays what you rightly said is distribution. So whenever we have seen in places where we have introduced, let's say for example, a product, innovative product in a urban town, and within probably a year's time we have forayed into the rural tier 2 tier 3 towns. Whenever our chance of successes are much higher in those. So yes, because supply chain plays a key function in our, and how do you manage that to get to that rural consumers is key for us. So I would say between both, rural consumption is much faster in terms of accepting newer things than I would say urban. So if we do a test, probably A/B testing, we might find the due to this aspirational, I would say, affinity of rural consumers, there could be much higher than urban. Where in urban, because you have got multiple products in the same category, as you rightly said in previously, there are so many different types of products which are limited to the rural side.
So you say for urban consumer, trying new things is the priority because they have multiple options. But in your rural side, it's more of an aspirational kind of a consumer that you have, right? If they once get connected with something, they continue to use it over a time, right?
Yes, and I believe that in rural consumption, brand loyalty still counts today, which is really diminishing in the urban consumption side.
Wow. Yeah, that's I think a crazy insight, I will say. Right?
Yes.
Wonderful. Yeah, because see, I basically live in, half of my month I spend in my hometown, which is Ludhiana, Punjab, and half of the month I stay in Bangalore. I won't say Ludhiana is tier 3, tier 4. It's a tier 2 town,
Yes.
right? But still, the kind of consumption pattern that I see between both the cities is a major difference, right? I see so many new consumer brands launching their products, be it new kind of a ice cream, be it new kind of a face wash or shampoo, which becomes easily available or are the first ones to launch in Bangalore, right? And in my hometown, I see those things leave a certain income group people or somebody like me who travels a lot and knows that there is something and brings back to the hometown. But still, if in the market, from the market perspective, I see that product maybe a year later or maybe 6 months later, right? So yeah, so that's there. Every time in a new city, I see different products which in my town I see them post a long period of time, and if it works, it continues to be into the market for at least 5-6 years. But
Yes. Means the brand loyalty in tier 2, tier 3 towns for products, if the consumer likes it, is much higher in terms of tolerance level than in the urban, metro or cosmopolitan cities today, I would say.
with so many options, so many things going on, like we discussed, right? Where do you see the future of retail industry in India as moving?
Look, as I said, as I started saying that, where the household consumption is actually, outpacing the population growth with the new. Today we have our population is more of younger generations. The workforce is lies between 25 and 36 probably, right? I see that the choices have improved or increased, right? But this will never, in the retail, if I say retail channels, let it be a modern trade, e-commerce, or a general trade, we will not see that there will be any cannibalization. It will always be complementary in nature. The journey part, the journey part of a consumer will keep changing, and they will keep changing the channels. So all will coexist in the same, I would say, they will coexist in the same place. I today might need, let's say, for example, in my breakfast, I want to eat a sausage, a chicken sausage. Probably I will look for, the first instance will be that I need it quickly. So probably I'll look into my, quick commerce, let's say. Now, many a times it might happen that there is out of stock or my favorite brand is not available, either of the two. So what does occur? So would he stop over there? No. If he is a very strong supporter of that particular variant or brand he is not getting, he might go to his nearest kirana or the supermarket and definitely do a purchase. So which means that, there will always all the three, four channel partners will always coexisting in the same.
Will your modern trade continue to dominate in the, let's say, tier 2 and further cities, or will it across everywhere in India, digital first retail approach that will lead?
Look, modern trade, what we see modern trade as that, modern trade is going to exist. However, time will say that in terms of how strong, in terms of share of the market they will be having. Because please understand today, one of the biggest challenge for any channels today is the fragmented supply chain which exists in India. Okay. So modern trade comes in places exactly there to solve those cases. But still, modern trade has a long way to go into that. Today we are very much limited to, modern trade is limited to tier 3 cities. We have much bigger, I would say, look at the number of pin codes which is being serviced today in India. It is hardly, I would say, 5% of the total market size it is being serviced. So I think so as we move on in the coming years, as the supply chain matures, the distribution matures enough, we will see the relevance in those cities as well. And modern trade will definitely play a very pivotal role in this.
What I understood from our conversation is all channels are here to stay. It's not like that one channel will die and another channel will succeed.
Yes.
At least for the foreseeable future, which is like 10 years, right? Where all the brands and the leaders see it as it is. It's just that the connecting with the consumer and building or keeping relationships stronger with your distribution channel, which is an important thing here now. Now it needs to be more stronger than ever.
Yes, you're absolutely right. You're absolutely right.
You as a brand saying that I rule this country or I rule this territory, that is something which is
Well,
diminishing.
that era is, we are past that era now. Okay, past that era. It is all about relevance. It is all about how conveniently you are discovered at the wish of the consumers. That's going to rule the roost in the coming future, I see.
Wonderful, wonderful. I guess with this, I want to thank you, Shank, for taking out time and sharing insights. I've learned a lot. I'm pretty sure our audience will watch this episode and will have their, observations and learnings from this. This will be your peers in the trade marketing or modern retail or general trade industry serving in the retail space, and or maybe aspiring people who want to be into this industry or might be early in their career. So if anybody wants to connect with Shank, he's on LinkedIn, Shankha Sarkar.
Yes.
You can go and send him friend request. And whatever questions you have, doubts you have, he's a very kind person and will answer you immediately. So with this, thank you so much, Shankha, for taking out time and joining me today.
Thank you so much, Dheeraj. It was a pleasure to have this conversation, and I look forward to more queries and questions if I could be of any to the viewers. Thank you so much.